My name is Elias Gray. I'm just an old fisherman from a small village by the sea. My life has always been simple. Wake up, go to the water, catch what I can, and come home. The sea has been my closest friend, my greatest teacher, and sometimes my toughest challenger. But now, as I sit here looking at the waves, I feel like I'm running out of time. My hands don't work as they used to, and my body is tired. I don't have much left to give, except for one thing, a wish. You see, there's someone I've been thinking about for years. My grandson, Liam. I haven't seen him in so long. He was just a little boy the last time he came here. Now, I wonder what he looks like, what kind of man he's grown into. All I want is to see him one more time, just once, to tell him I love him, to tell him I'm proud of him. I remember the days when Liam used to visit the village. He was full of energy, always running along the docks, laughing, and asking me endless questions about the sea. Grandpa, what's the biggest fish you've ever caught? He'd ask, his eyes wide with excitement. I'd tell him about the time I caught a tuna as big as a table. He thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Can I be a fisherman like you someday? He'd ask. Of course you can. I'd say, one day, you'll be better than me. But then life happened. Liam's parents moved to the city, and the visits stopped. At first, I'd get letters, and sometimes a phone call, but those stopped too. I don't blame them. It's hard to keep in touch when life gets busy. But I've missed him every single day. One morning, I woke up with a strange feeling in my chest. It wasn't pain. It was something heavier. I knew my time was running out. I sat on my old wooden chair, looking at a photo of Liam as a boy. He was smiling, holding up a tiny fish we caught together. That smile gave me the strength I needed. I'm going to find him, I decided. I can't leave this world without seeing him. I sold my boat to pay for the trip. It broke my heart to let it go, but I knew this was more important. I packed a small bag with a few things, a picture of Liam, a notebook to write my thoughts, and the little wooden boat he carved for me when he was a boy. The city was far away, and I'd never been there before. I took a bus, and as we drove through roads and towns, I felt like a fish out of water. The city was loud, crowded, and nothing like my quiet village. I asked people for help along the way. Some ignored me, but others were kind. One young woman gave me directions, and an old man at a diner even paid for my meal. "Why are you traveling, old-timer?" he asked me. "I'm looking for my grandson." I told him, "It's my last wish." He smiled and said, "I hope you find him." Those words gave me strength. After days of traveling, I finally stood in front of a tall building. It was the address from the last letter Liam's mother sent me years ago. My hands were shaking as I knocked on the door. When the door opened, a young man stood there. He looked so much like my Liam, but taller, older, and stronger. "Liam?" I asked, my voice trembling. He stared at me for a moment, then his eyes lit up. "Grandpa?" Before I knew it, he pulled me into a hug. I felt tears streaming down my face, and I didn't care. I was holding my grandson again, and that was all that mattered. Liam brought me inside, and we sat together for hours. I told him stories about the sea, about the big storms and the quiet sunsets. He listened, hanging on every word, just like he used to when he was a boy. "I missed you, Grandpa," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought about you all the time, but life got so busy." I smiled at him and said, "What matters is that we're here now. That's enough for me." He showed me pictures of his life, his graduation, his job as a teacher, and his friends. I felt so proud of him, more than words can say. And then he surprised me. He showed me a little boat he had bought. "I guess I didn't become a fisherman, but I still love the water," he said with a laugh. I laughed too, feeling like my heart was full for the first time in years. I stayed with Liam for a few weeks. We walked along the park, shared meals, and even went to a nearby lake where I taught him to fish again. He was rusty, but he tried his best. One evening, as we sat by the lake watching the sunset, I turned to him and said, "Liam, I'm happy now. I've seen you, and I know you're doing well. That's all I ever wanted." Not long after, I passed away in my sleep. I didn't feel any fear, just peace. I knew I had fulfilled my last wish. I heard Liam honored me by scattering my ashes into the sea. I'm glad he did. That's where I belong, where the waves can carry me forever. I hope Liam knows how proud I am of him, how much I loved him, and I hope that whenever he hears the sound of the waves, he remembers me, his old fisherman grandpa who loved him more than words could ever say.